I found my daughter standing in my kitchen, holding a new set of keys. Keys I'd never seen before. Keys to my house. Let me back up. My name is Margaret. I'm 62, been widowed for 5 years now, and I live in a modest 3-bedroom house in Portland that my parents left me. Nothing fancy, but it's mine. Paid off, worth about $800,000 in today's market, which honestly shocked me when the assessor told me last year. I spent 30 years teaching 5th grade before I retired. My husband, David, died of a heart attack the year after I got my pension. We never had much, but we had enough. The house, a small savings account, his life insurance. I was comfortable, not rich, but comfortable. My daughter Lisa is 35. She married Mark 7 years ago, and they have 2 kids, Emma and Jacob, 6 and 8. Sweet kids. I love them dearly. Lisa called me in June, crying. Not unusual. Lisa cried about a lot of things: the kids' school, Mark's job, the price of groceries. But this time, she sounded different, desperate. Mom, our house has black mold. The inspector found it yesterday. We have to move out while they remediate. It could take 2 weeks, maybe 3. Can we please stay with you? Please? I looked around my empty house. 3 bedrooms? Just me rattling around in it. Of course I said yes. Just until your house is safe again, I said. Of course, sweetie. They arrived that Saturday with more boxes than I expected for a 2-week stay. Mark barely looked at me as he hauled things in. He never did. In 7 years of marriage to my daughter, he'd probably spoken 50 words directly to me. Thanks, Margaret, he muttered, dropping a suitcase in my hallway. Lisa hugged me tight, too tight. You're a lifesaver, Mom. I don't know what we'd do without you. The first week was fine. The kids were thrilled to have Grandma's house to explore. I made pancakes on Saturday mornings. We watched movies. Lisa seemed relaxed for the first time in months. The second week, things shifted. I came home from the grocery store to find my living room furniture rearranged. The couch I'd had positioned to catch the afternoon light was now shoved against the opposite wall. My grandmother's side table was in the garage. Lisa looked up from her laptop at the kitchen table. Oh, Mom, I hope you don't mind. The feng shui was really off. This is so much better, don't you think? I opened my mouth, then closed it. It's fine, I thought. It's just furniture. They'll be gone soon. Week 3 became week 4. The mold remediation was taking longer than expected. Then there was an issue with permits. Then the contractor ghosted them. We might need another month, Mom, Lisa said, not quite meeting my eyes. I'm so sorry. That's fine, I heard myself say. Take your time. But it wasn't fine. Mark had taken over the garage as his workshop, even though he didn't work. He'd been laid off from his sales job 8 months ago and hadn't looked for anything new. He spent his days in my garage, doing God knows what. Lisa started working from home, claiming she needed quiet to focus. She took over my dining room completely, spreading her laptop, papers, and files across the table I'd inherited from my mother. When I needed to use it, she'd sigh heavily. Mom, I'm in the middle of something. Can't you eat in the kitchen? I ate in the kitchen, at the small breakfast nook meant for quick coffee, not full meals. By the end of June, I'd been pushed into a corner of my own house. My bedroom and the tiny hall bathroom were the only spaces that still felt like mine. Everything else had been claimed. One afternoon, I overheard Lisa on the phone in the backyard. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. I was watering my tomatoes. No, Mom won't care, Lisa was saying. She never uses this space anyway. And honestly, at her age, she doesn't need a house this big. We'll be doing her a favor. My hands stilled on the watering can. Mark's already looking into it, she continued. There are ways. Adverse possession, caretaker agreements. We just need time. Once we establish residency and can prove we're providing her care, my heart started pounding. I stepped back from the window, water from the can spilling onto my shoes. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in my bed, David's side still empty after all these years, and stared at the ceiling. Was I being paranoid? Surely Lisa wouldn't, but I kept hearing her voice. At her age, she doesn't need a house this big. The next morning, I did something I hadn't done in years. I called my friend Patricia. We'd taught together for decades before we both retired. Patricia had always been the tough one, the one who didn't take nonsense from anyone. "Maggie," she said when she answered, "I was beginning to think you'd forgotten about me." "Can we have coffee?" I asked. "Today?" We met at the cafe downtown, the one with the good scones. I told her everything. The rearranged furniture, the commandeered rooms, the conversation I'd overheard. Patricia set down her cup with a sharp clink. "Margaret, Anne, listen to me. You need to get them out. Now. But the kids will be fine. Lisa and Mark are grown adults with 2 good legs and functioning brains. They can figure it out. You are not responsible for their housing crisis, especially one that's sounding more and more manufactured." "What do you mean? Black mold? That takes months to remediate properly, not weeks. And contractors don't just ghost people unless they're not getting paid. Has Lisa shown you any paperwork? Any remediation plan? Timeline?" I shook my head slowly. "Exactly." Patricia leaned forward. "You need to protect yourself. Go home and really look around. See what they've done. And for God's sake, if you haven't already, make sure your important papers are secure." I drove home with my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles were white. Patricia's words echoed in my head. When I pulled into my driveway, Mark's truck was gone. Lisa's car, too. The kids were at summer camp until 3. I had the house to myself. I started in the dining room. Lisa's laptop was closed, but her papers were everywhere. I felt guilty, invasive, but I looked anyway. Mortgage applications, refinancing documents, and there, at the bottom of a stack, a utilities bill for my house, with Lisa's name on it. I checked the date. She'd changed the electric bill over to her name 3 weeks ago. The water bill, too. My hands were shaking as I went through more papers. There was a document from an attorney's office, a caretaker agreement that stated I was of diminished capacity and required full-time care from my daughter. It was dated 2 weeks ago. I'd never signed it. But there was a signature at the bottom that looked vaguely like mine. I took photos of everything with my phone. Then I went to my bedroom and found the fireproof box where I kept my important documents. The deed to the house, David's death certificate, my will. The box was still locked, but it had been moved. It was always on the top shelf of my closet, pushed to the back. Now it was front and center. I took the box and my purse and I left. I drove straight to Patricia's house. "Call a lawyer," she said immediately when I showed her the photos. "Right now, Maggie. This isn't a family dispute anymore. This is fraud." Patricia's cousin was an estate attorney. He saw me that afternoon as an emergency appointment. Charles Brennan was in his 50s, soft-spoken but with steel in his eyes when I showed him the documents. "Mrs. Caldwell, your daughter has committed several crimes here," he said carefully. "Forgery, for one. Potentially identity theft. The fact that she's changed utilities into her name while you're still the property owner is concerning, but not illegal in itself. However, this caretaker agreement with a forged signature? This is serious. What do I do?" "You have several options. The first and most important is to establish that you are of sound mind and not in need of care. I'll draft a statement to that effect, which we'll have notarized. Second, we file an eviction notice. Oregon law requires 30 days for family members without a lease, which it appears they don't have. 30 days? I'm afraid so. But we can accelerate it if we can prove they're damaging your property or if there's evidence of fraud in their occupation of the house. Given these documents," he tapped the photos, "I think we have a case for immediate removal. I don't want to hurt my daughter," I said quietly. "I just want my house back." "I understand. But Mrs. Caldwell, your daughter has made a calculated decision to hurt you. She's not acting out of desperation. This is planned. Look at the timeline of these documents. This has been in motion for over a month." I felt something crack inside my chest. the last bit of hope that this was all a misunderstanding. "Draw up whatever you need to," I said. "I'll sign it." I didn't go home that night. I stayed with Patricia. She made up the guest room and we drank tea and didn't talk about it. I was grateful for that. The next morning, armed with notarized documents and a legal eviction notice, I went home. Lisa was in the kitchen making coffee when I walked in. She looked surprised to see me. "Mom, where were you last night?" I was worried. "Were you?" Something in my tone made her freeze. "Of course I was. You didn't answer your phone." "I was with my attorney." The color drained from her face. "Your attorney?" I pulled the eviction notice from my purse and set it on the counter. "You have 30 days to vacate my home." She picked it up with trembling hands. I watched her eyes scan the page. When she looked up, her expression had changed completely. The concerned daughter was gone. What remained was something cold. "You can't do this." "I can. And I am. We have nowhere to go. The kids will be fine. You'll figure it out. Like you figured out how to forge my signature on a caretaker agreement." Her mouth opened. Closed. That was. "Mom, I was trying to help. You're getting older. And I thought..." "You thought you'd steal my house." "It's not stealing if I'm taking care of you." "I don't need care, Lisa. I'm 62, not 90. I'm in perfect health. I have all my faculties, which you would know if you'd spent any time actually talking to me instead of plotting how to take my home." Mark appeared in the doorway, probably drawn by raised voices. "What's going on?" "Your wife forged my signature on legal documents to try to establish herself as my caretaker so she could take my house." Mark's face went red. "That's bullshit." "Watch your language in my home," I said quietly. "And you have 30 days. The notice is legal. If you're not out by July 30th, I'll have the sheriff remove you." Lisa's shock was morphing into rage. "After everything we've done for you, we moved in to help you. You were lonely. You were rattling around this house alone. We gave you companionship. We gave you purpose. You gave me nothing but stress and deception. Get out. This is our home now, too." "No, it's not. The deed is in my name. The mortgage is paid off and has been for 12 years. You changed the utilities, but that doesn't make this your house. You're tenants at best, and you never had a lease. My attorney was very clear about this." I left them standing in the kitchen and went to my room. I locked the door. My heart was racing so fast I thought I might be sick, but I'd done it. I'd stood up to them. The next 2 days were tense. Lisa wasn't speaking to me. Mark shot me hateful looks whenever we crossed paths. The kids sensed something was wrong and were quieter than usual. I spent most of my time in my room or out of the house. I had coffee with Patricia. I went to the library. I walked through the park. Anything to avoid the hostile energy in my own home. On the 3rd day, I went to visit my cousin in Eugene. It was about a 2-hour drive, and I needed the space. We had a lovely dinner, caught up on family gossip, and I spent the night. When I came back the next afternoon, my key didn't work. I stood on my porch, trying to fit the key into the lock, confused. I tried again and again. The key wouldn't even slide in. They'd changed the locks. I rang the doorbell, knocked. Nothing. Finally, Lisa opened the door. She didn't open it wide. She stood in the gap, blocking my entry. "Mom, we need to talk." "Let me in my house, Lisa. This isn't your house anymore. We've established residency." Mark checked with a lawyer. "And because we've been living here for over a month, and we've been paying utilities and maintaining the property, we have rights. You changed the locks on my house. We changed the locks on OUR house. For security, you're welcome to stay in the guest room, but we need you to respect our space." I stared at my daughter, at the woman I'd given birth to, raised, loved, and I didn't recognize her. "Let me in right now, or I'm calling the police." She actually laughed. "Go ahead, call them. They'll see that we're living here, taking care of the property, and that you're the one making a scene." I pulled out my phone. "Mom, don't be ridiculous. I dialed 911. 911. What's your emergency? I'm standing on the porch of my home, and my daughter has changed the locks and won't let me in. I'm the sole owner of the property, and I have the deed to prove it. The dispatcher's voice was calm. What's your address, ma'am? I gave it to her. Lisa's face had gone white. Officers are on their way. Stay on the line with me. It took 12 minutes for the police to arrive. 12 minutes of me standing on my porch, with Lisa glaring at me from the doorway. Mark eventually came to stand behind her. His jaw clenched. 2 officers arrived, a young woman and an older man. Ma'am, I'm Officer Torres. Can you tell me what's happening? I explained it all. That it was my house, that my daughter and her family had been staying temporarily, that I'd given them an eviction notice, that I'd come home to find the locks changed. Do you have proof of ownership? Officer Torres asked. I pulled up the photos on my phone. The deed, the most recent property tax bill in my name, my driver's license with this address. Officer Torres looked at Lisa. Ma'am, is this your mother's house? Lisa lifted her chin. We have established residency. We've been living here for over a month. We pay the utilities. We have rights. Do you have a lease? No, but then you're guests in your mother's home, and she's asking you to let her in. We have an eviction notice that gives us 30 days. That notice gives you 30 days to find a new place and move out. It doesn't give you the right to change the locks and bar the legal owner from her property. Officer Torres's voice was firm. You need to let your mother in. Now. Mark stepped forward. This is bullshit. We have kids in here. You're going to traumatize them over some legal technicality? The older officer, whose nameplate read Chen, spoke for the first time. Sir, I suggest you lower your voice and let Miss Caldwell into her home. If you've changed the locks without the owner's permission, that's potentially criminal. I watched something flicker across Mark's face. Fear, maybe. He whispered something to Lisa. She shook her head. They had a tense, hissed conversation I couldn't hear. Finally, Lisa stepped back and opened the door. I walked into my house. It looked different. They'd rearranged more furniture. There were boxes everywhere, moving boxes. Have you been packing? I asked. No one answered. Officer Torres walked through the house with me. In the dining room, spread across the table, were more papers, realtor listings, mortgage refinance applications, and a document that made my blood run cold. A listing agreement for my house, with Lisa's name as the seller. Officer Torres picked it up. Ma'am, did you sign this? No. She looked at Lisa and Mark. Who's Gloria Chen Realty? Lisa's face was flushed. That's just... We were exploring options. Options to sell your mother's house? Mom doesn't need this much space. We were going to help her downsize, move somewhere more manageable, and we could buy this place from her. With what money? I asked quietly. You're unemployed, Mark. And Lisa, you freelance. You don't have the income to qualify for an $800,000 mortgage. Mark's jaw worked. We have plans. You were going to steal my house and sell it, I said. Not a question. A statement. Officer Torres picked up her radio. Dispatch. We're going to need a detective down here. Possible fraud case. Wait. Lisa's voice broke. Wait, please. Mom, let's talk about this. Without the police, please. I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. Her eyes were desperate now, not defiant. The mask had cracked. You forged my signature on multiple documents, I said. You tried to have me declared incompetent. You changed the locks on my house. You were planning to sell it out from under me. What exactly is there to talk about? I'm your daughter. You're a thief. The word hung in the air. The detective arrived 40 minutes later. Detective Sarah Rollins, mid-40s, sharp-eyed. She photographed everything. The forged documents, the listing agreement, the changed locks. She interviewed all of us separately. When she was done, she stood in my living room and addressed Lisa and Mark directly. You have 2 choices here. Choice 1. Mrs. Caldwell presses charges for forgery, fraud, and attempted theft. You'll both be arrested. Your children will go into temporary protective custody until other family can be located. You'll face felony charges. Choice 2. You pack your essentials tonight, and you're out of this house by morning. Mrs. Caldwell's attorney will nullify the eviction notice on the grounds of fraud, which means you have no legal right to 30 days. You're trespassing, as of now. You leave peacefully. You don't contest it. And Mrs. Caldwell agrees not to press charges. Lisa was crying. Real tears this time. We have nowhere to go. You should have thought of that before you tried to steal your mother's house, Detective Rollins said flatly. What's it going to be? Mark looked at me. For the first time in 7 years, he really looked at me. You'd really do this? To your own daughter? You really tried to steal from me, I said. Your own mother-in-law. The woman who gave you a free place to stay. He had no answer to that. We'll leave, Lisa whispered. We'll go tonight. Smart choice, Detective Rollins said. Mrs. Caldwell, do you want an officer to stay while they pack? Yes, I said. I do. Officer Chen stayed. I sat in my kitchen and watched my daughter and her husband pack their life into boxes and suitcases and trash bags. The kids were confused, crying. Emma kept asking where they were going. Lisa couldn't answer. I wanted to comfort them. They were my grandchildren. But every time I started to stand, I remembered the forged signature, the caretaker agreement, the listing with a realtor. They loaded Mark's truck. 3 trips. Lisa couldn't look at me. On their final walk through, collecting last items, Mark stopped in front of me. I hope you're happy, he said. You just made your daughter homeless. I just stopped her from making me homeless, I replied. They left at 11:30 that night. Officer Chen watched them drive away, then turned to me. You did the right thing, ma'am. I know it doesn't feel like it, but you did. I nodded. I couldn't speak. If I spoke, I'd cry. After he left, I walked through my house, my empty, quiet house. I noticed what they'd taken that wasn't theirs. A set of serving dishes, my mother's quilt from the guest room, small things but mine. I sat on my couch, the one that was back in its proper place, and I let myself cry. The next morning, I called a locksmith. New locks, new keys, just mine. I called my attorney. He filed papers to reverse all the utility bills back to my name. He sent cease and desist letters to the realtor and any financial institutions Lisa had contacted. I called Patricia. It's done, I said. They're gone. Oh, Maggie. Are you all right? No, I said honestly. But I will be. Over the next week, I reclaimed my house. I moved furniture back. I filled the empty spaces. I planted new flowers in the garden to replace the ones that had died while I was too distracted to care for them. Lisa called once. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. Mom, I'm sorry. I know you won't believe me, but I am, Mark. He was in so much debt. Gambling debts. Bad people were calling, threatening us. We were desperate, we thought. I thought if we had the house, we could sell it, pay off his debts, and start over. I know it was wrong. I know I hurt you. But please, Mom, we're staying in a motel. The kids are scared. Please. I deleted it. Patricia came over for tea. We sat in my backyard, in my chairs, in my space. Do you think you'll forgive her? She asked. I don't know, I said. I love her. She's my daughter. But I don't trust her. I don't know if I ever will again. That's fair. She made her choices. She chose to lie, to forge, to steal. She chose Mark's gambling debts over her own mother. Those were her choices. Yes, they were. I looked around my yard, my house, my home that I'd almost lost. I spent so long after David died feeling like I should make myself smaller, I said. Like I was taking up too much space. This house was too big for just me. Maybe I should downsize. Maybe I should make room for Lisa's family. Maybe. And now? Now I know that I'm allowed to take up space. This is my home. I earned it. David and I built our life here. Just because he's gone doesn't mean I have to shrink away. Patricia smiled. Good for you, Maggie. A month later, I got a letter from Lisa. A real letter, handwritten. She said they'd moved in with Mark's parents in Salem, that Mark was in treatment for gambling addiction, that she was seeing a therapist, that she was sorry, truly sorry, and she hoped someday I'd be willing to talk to her again. I didn't write back. Not yet. Maybe someday. But I did do something else. I called an attorney and updated my will. The house would be sold upon my death, and the proceeds split into 3 trusts, one for Emma, one for Jacob, one for Lisa. But Lisa's trust came with conditions. She wouldn't receive a penny until she completed a financial literacy course, maintained steady employment for 2 years, and could prove Mark had been sober and debt-free for 5 years. My grandchildren would be taken care of. But I'd be damned if I'd enable my daughter's bad choices from beyond the grave. I also did something I'd been thinking about for years. I joined a local seniors community group, not because I was lonely, not because I needed purpose, but because I wanted to. I made new friends. I took a ceramics class. I volunteered at the library on Tuesdays. My house is still too big for one person. And you know what? I don't care. I have a guest room for Patricia when she visits. I have a craft room for my pottery. I have a garden that I tend, with no one criticizing how I plant my tomatoes. I have space. My space. And every night, when I lock my door with my new keys, I remember what I almost lost. And what I found instead. I found my voice. I found my strength. I found my ability to say no, even when it breaks your heart. Sometimes the people who love you will hurt you. Sometimes they'll hurt you on purpose, for their own gain. And when that happens, you have to choose yourself. I chose myself, and I'd do it again. My name is Margaret Caldwell. I'm 62 years old. I live alone in a 3-bedroom house in Portland, Oregon, and it's mine.